We're moving on to lesson 87. We're talking about scale drawing word problems. And our objective is to solve real-world problems involving scale drawings. The first thing we need to know is what a scale drawing is. Okay, a scale drawing is a drawing used to represent something in real life. The drawing is proportional to the object it represents. And so, for example, okay, maybe a map would be an example of a scale drawing. Okay, because a map isn't as big as the real-life object it represents. Okay, so for example, if you have a map of the United States, that's not nearly as big as the United States is, but they give you what's called a scale, okay, where it might say like 1 inch is equal to 200 miles or something like that. Okay, so that's what a scale drawing is. A map is a great example of that. Okay, and or let's say that Mr. Ayers draws a tree. Okay, and we'll say that this represents, so I don't know, a 20-foot tree. It's pretty obvious that my drawing is not 20 feet tall, okay, but maybe, okay, however tall my drawing is represents this 20-foot tree. Okay, so it might be drawn to scale. Okay, so again, it's a drawing used to represent something in real life, and the drawing is proportional to the object it represents. So let's go ahead and use this knowledge to solve some real-world application problems. Okay, example 1 says Mary sketched a scale drawing of her dream garden using 1 inch to represent 2 feet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. 1 inch equals 2 feet. Okay, and this is 1 inch on her drawing equals 2 feet for her garden in real life. Okay. Well, it says if the garden of the if the drawing of the garden is 8 inches long, how long will Mary's garden be? So we want to figure that out. And then we also want to figure out if Mary's garden is to be 12 feet wide, how wide should the drawing be? So it says our steps right here. One is to set up a ratio box comparing the drawing to the object it represents. Okay, and then we want to set up a proportion and solve the proportion. So here's how our ratio box is going to get set up for these scale drawing problems. Okay, well, we're going to have the scale compared to the actual, and we need to decide always for our drawing and for whatever object we're representing, in this case the garden. Okay, so we know that on the drawing here okay, let's try that again. We know that 1 inch on our drawing represents 2 feet in our garden. Okay, that's the scale. Alright, 1 inch in the drawing represents 2 feet in the garden. Now, our drawing labels need to be the same, and our garden labels need to be the same. So we need to have feet here and inches here. Okay? Well, it says we know that the drawing of the garden is 8 inches long. So the drawing's actual length is going to be 8 inches. So then we want to know how long will Mary's garden be. And since 1 inch represents 2 feet, then our garden we're going to measure in feet. And we want to know how long that is. Okay, so we're going to set up a proportion to solve this. So we're going to put 1 inch over 8 inches equals 2 feet over how many feet? Well, we could use cross products and solve this, but this one's easy enough. We can tell that we're going to take 1 times 2 to get 2. So we're going to make 8 times 2. It's going to give us 16 feet long. Okay? So the garden is 16 feet long. Okay? Now we know that Mary's garden is 12 feet wide. We want to know how wide should the drawing be. So again, we're going to set up the same ratio box here. We're going to have the scale, and the actual, and the drawing, and the garden. So again, the scale, 1 inch in the drawing, represents 2 feet in the garden. This time we know that the garden is 12 feet wide. And we want to know how wide should the drawing be. So how many inches should the drawing be? So now we're going to set this up again. 1 inch over x inches equals 2 feet over 12 feet. Well, we know that 1 times 2 is 2, so we want to know what times 2 equals 12, and that is going to be 6 inches. Okay, so the drawing is 6 inches wide. Okay? Now let's go ahead and move on to one more example and we'll be done for this lesson. Alright, example 2 says, Edmund wants to convert the attic to a living space. He has made a scale drawing, 1 inch equals 16 feet, of his plans. What are the dimensions of bedroom 2 excluding the closet? Okay, excluding means not including the closet for bedroom 2. So pretty much we want to know that this open space right here in bedroom 2. Well, the first thing that we have to do is measure his drawing. Okay, if we use a ruler to measure these, this is about 1.25 inches. And this part is about 0.75 inches. Okay, so from here to here is about 0.75 inches, and here to here is about 1.25 inches. So now we need to figure out the length and the width. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is figure out the length and use a ratio box. Okay, so in our box needs to include the scale to the actual, and we need to have the drawing to the room. Okay, well, the scale, we know that 1 inch in the drawing equals 16 feet in the room. And if the actual drawing for the length is 1.25 inches, we want to know how many feet is the room. Okay, so we're going to put 1 inch over 1.25 inches equals 16 feet over how many feet? Well, we're taking this times 16, so I'm going to take this times 16. So I need to do 1.25 times 16 to figure it out. I'm going to get 30, carry the 3, 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15, carry the 1, and we get 7. And I bring down 0, and I get 5, 2, and 1. I'm going to get 0, 10, carry the 1, 9 plus 1 is 10. So that's 2 with 2 decimal places. So that's about 20 feet. So my length is about 20 feet. Okay? And now we need to do the same thing for the width of the room. So we're going to do a ratio box. Scale to actual. And the drawing compared to the room. Again, it's 1 inch to 16 feet. And if I know the width is 0.75 inches, I want to know how many feet wide is the room. So again, 1 inch over 0.75 inches equals 16 feet over how many feet? And we're going to do the same thing. We did times 16, so I'm going to take 16 times 0.75. Okay, and that's 30. Carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 80. 6 times 7 is 42. Carry the 4. 1 times 7 is 7, plus 4 is 11. I get 0, 10, carry the 1, 2, 0 with 2 decimal places. So that's the width is 12 feet. So the dimensions are 20 feet by 12 feet for the room. Okay, excluding the closet and this little tiny walk-in area. So this open space out here is 20 feet by 12 feet. Alright, and that's your lesson on scale drawing word problems. Happy homeworking.